Thanks and appreciation for attending this meeting at the headquarters of the GCC Secretary General in that very critical moment in time. I'd like also to express my condolences to the families of our martyrs, from the civilians and the military who lost their lives due to the Iranian attacks on the GCC countries. Dear audience, let's start at the very beginning by the facts. On the 28th of February 2026, until the moment, the Iranian authorities have launched unprecedented barrage of missiles and drones against the GCC countries at the same time, in addition to Jordan. Iran also targeted some of Islamic countries. This is not an escalation from so many escalations at the region, but it's a change and a turning point in the relation and the situation between Iran and the GCC countries, because Iran is being targeting purposely and launching a direct attack at the GCC countries at the same time. I'd like to say the following. Attacks against the civilian targets, the attacks, Iranian attacks with missiles and drones led to the killing of civilians between the residents and the citizens. The latest of which is the Iranian attack against Abu Dhabi, which led to so many deaths and wounded people. In addition to that, other attacks on other GCC countries have led to big damage in the infrastructure, energy facilities, water sanitation, hotels, government establishments, ambassadors and airports and residential areas. And the spaces were closed in some GCC countries. After 25 days of the Iranian aggression, the result of the attacks, more than 5,000 missiles and drones launched against the GCC countries. Most of them have been intercepted, but some of them have hit the civilian establishment and led to the killing of some people and the damage in the properties. The percentage of the Iranian missiles were 85% of the total amount of missiles launched during the war. The defense systems in the GCC countries have done greatly in intercepting these attacks with all professionalism, which has limited the volume of damage, but this is an aggression against the GCC countries by Iran. The international navigation has been also honed, and the GCC countries are the economic lung of the world, because the GCC produces 16 billion barrels of crude oil, which means 22% of the total world production. The GCC countries export 27% to the world, which means 11.5 million barrels a day. The GCC countries host 33% of the oil reserves, which is about 512 billion barrel, and 41% of the reserves of the oil as well. And the GCC countries produce 442 billion liters of gas, which is a great percentage of the world production. This means that the GCC countries are very important to the world economy, and any disruption will reflect immediately on the security of the energy globally and will hit the global around the world. This stability of oil production and exploitation from this part is not a luxurious thing, it's a necessity for the international markets. What's being done by the Iranian and again in the GCC countries have overcome all the red lines They closed the Strait of Hormuz and imposed fees for passing through the Strait of Hormuz, which is an aggression and violation of the United Nations Agreement on seas law. Also, some vessels have been kidnapped or attacked in the African Horn or the Red Sea by the affiliated groups in the region. The international world must listen to this carefully, and the Iranian officials must understand this, because this is an international obligation and responsibility. Stopping the navigation not against the GCC countries only, but it's against all and so many countries that are now suffering from a shortage of their needs of oil and gas. The naval corridors are there within and operating within certain international agreement. No one has the right to stop them from operating, and no one can work as a traffic officer in these parts of the world. The GCC countries got surprised by the American-Israeli attacks on Iran. And the GCC countries have said clearly that they will never take part in any military operation, will never allow the territories to be used for any attacks against Iran, will never be part of a war against Iran, and the Iranians have been informed officially. But this situation hasn't stopped Iran from attacking the GCC countries. The GCC countries are training themselves according to the situation. They have never replied or retaliated so as not to expand the conflict in the region. Hopefully, that Iran will stop these attacks. Everyone knows that the GCC countries have worked throughout the last years to de-escalate the situation in the region with all professionalism and transparency. The GCC countries, since its establishment, were part of stability. GCC countries are playing positive role in positive relationships between the neighbors and the partners. They are also mediators in so many conflicts, and they have been trusted by their partners, and they are oil producers and oil exporters. Here I'd like to say that the GCC countries, when Iran has been attacked by Israel in June last year, the GCC countries held a meeting, an exceptional meeting, an exceptional ministerial meeting, and the GCC countries have expressed the denunciation of the Israeli attacks against the Iranian sovereignty, and we called for diplomacy to sort out problems and to avoid hitting the establishment, because this is a real threat to the security and the comprehensive guarantees of the International Atomic Energy, and a violation to the international law, the human international law that prevent attacking the nuclear facilities. I'd like here to tell you also some examples that prove the goodwill of the GCC countries towards Iran. First, the message sent by the GCC leaders to the Iranian president in 2016 regarding the development of the GCC countries with Iran, and to develop the GCC countries with Iran. Then the resumption of diplomatic relations between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Iran through the Chinese mediation in Peking in 2023, a matter that is supported by the GCC countries, being a step towards regional stability. Also, the diplomatic role of the Sultanate of Oman that hosted in Muscat talks in order to facilitate the dialogue channels between the sides of Iran and America, and this step was supported by the GCC countries and the international community. Also, the meeting of the GCC foreign ministers with the Iranian foreign minister held in Doha, and during which messages were clearly sent about security and stability in the region, and the meeting confirmed the wish of the GCC countries to have normal relations with Iran and to tackle all the problems with all transparency, including the nuclear program of Iran and the Iranian and the Emirati occupied 3 islands. We expressed our desires to have normal relations based on mutual respect. 2, non-intervention in the domestic fronts. 3, the real wish to cooperate in so many domains, economic and commercial. The discussion about real chances to boost the Gulf-Iranian relationship. We were clear in these meetings, and we were clear during our meetings with the Iranian officials. We have behaved in a rational way, the way that every partner wants to behave, and despite that, we were attacked by the Iranian missiles. This is enough to say that all claims of Iran were false. The legal international framework of the GCC countries is like this. The GCC countries have built their situations based on a legal framework that is very clear. The attacks of Iran is a violation of the second item, 4th paragraph of the United Nations Charter, that prevents the usage of force or the threat of the usage of force against the peaceful of other countries. The GCC countries have the right to defend themselves, according to the item 51 of the Charter. It's not a threat, it's a legal right of every country to defend its sovereignty. The Security Council Resolution 2817, where 136 countries have supported our proposal in an unprecedented historic manner that I've never seen by the United Nations in a matter that is related to our region. This confirms what we have urged Iran to stop it. Iran is the base of the crisis in the region, and Iran must stop these unjustified claims and attacks. The Security Council, the Human Rights Council, has adopted a resolution regarding a proposal submitted by Bahrain in the name of the GCC countries and Jordan. This has been supported by more than 100 countries from the regional groups. The security of the GCC countries is one, and any aggression against any country is aggression against the whole GCC countries, according to the defense agreement between the GCC countries. We are united. We will face any aggression against any of the GCC countries. The entire world must be up to the responsibility and must adopt a decisive manner towards and against anyone who is playing with the naval straits and will threaten the naval routes and the oil facilities in the GCC countries and in the region. On the international level, there is an economic impact. 1, the economic and energy in the world. The Strait of Hormuz is closed today, and the results might be limited for some period of time. But on the long run, this will affect the economic growth in the world. This will be catastrophic on the world economy. What's going on in the Strait of Hormuz will never stay in the Strait of Hormuz, but it will extend to other areas. What is being done by Iran against the energy facilities in the GCC countries is not a simple matter. It's a brutal aggression on the world economy, and the strikes have really hit. Also, the Iranian attacks have reached refineries of Ras Tanur in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, one of the biggest facilities in the world, and in Al-Kharj, field of Sheba in Rub' al-Khali, refinery in Cyprus, Yanbu Airport, and refinery in south of Riyadh. The strikes hit Ras Laffan Industrial City in Qatar, the biggest source and center of LNG and Al Masaid complex for petrochemicals. 12.8% have stopped for probably a period from 3 to 5 years, and losses that grows up to $20 billion every year. The attacks of Iran has reached Habshan, the Emirates, and refinery of Ruwais as well. In Kuwait, the refinery of Al-Ahmadi Airport, one of the most important refineries in the world, has been hit. In the Sultanate of Oman, Salalah strategic airport has been hit, and oil tankers have been hit near the Strait of Hormuz. Ad-Duqm also airport has been hit. In Bahrain, the stores of oil and refineries in Bahrain have also been held, where fires were all over the place. This systematic escalation has affected the international economy immediately. The prices have risen, and the costs of transportation have risen, and the Strait of Hormuz was almost closed, which affects the navigation. The chains are also affected. This is an international joint responsibility. What is representing a threat today will grow up in the future, and the chains must be protected, and this will be part of a bigger damage that will hit the digital economy. This is an international responsibility. The message of the GCC countries, the GCC countries want only diplomatic solution. This is our main goal, our main aim. We need to see a path of dialogue that can lead to these attacks to be stopped according to lasting security preparations. The international law allows all the rights to use whatsoever available for the countries according to the United Nations Charter and to defend themselves. There are so many items and articles in the Charter that allow the countries to do whatever it takes in order to defend themselves. We are considering these options, but we confirm and stress that the diplomatic political path is the best. Our main message to our partners in the world sent an international message, a unified message to Iran to stop immediately and unconditionally their attacks against the GCC countries. Our aim was not to destroy Iran at all. Our aim is to reach a good relationship between us and Iran based on the mutual respect, non-interference in the domestic affairs of every country. I'd like to give you an example here in this context. The smallest three countries when it comes to the GCC are the Kingdom of Bahrain, the State of Qatar, and the State of Kuwait. The population never exceeds 10% of the Iranian population. That is 90 million. The general production is almost close, and we have exceeded this in so many years. The revenues for the individual in Qatar or the Emirates from $51,000 to $70,000 a year, but it doesn't exceed $4,000 in Iran. This difference says the whole story about options and to which extension Iran can reach if Iran stops its aggression. The main principles of cooperation with the consequences of the Iranian aggression, first to understand the situation and to understand the facts. We cannot deal with the aggression of Iran as part of what's going on in the Middle East. What's going on is a violation to the international law and systematic targeting of certain areas. We ask and we urge our friends and our partners in the world to understand the situation properly. Also, a message, an international message must be sent to the entire world. All the countries must show the attitude regarding the aggressions of Iran and the Iranians' behavior that will destabilize stability in the region. The deterioration of the situation in the Arab Gulf will be a warning that will exceed the Gulf area to other parts in the world, and 100% it will destabilize the international stability and will postpone the chains, commercial chains, and the exportation of oil and gas to the world. We need to be partners in the world to draw and to confirm the necessity of having the GCC countries as part of any agreement to sort out this problem or this crisis in order to provide these countries with safe and stability. Clearly and loudly, let's say any preparations, any agreements that aim at changing the map of the Middle East after this crisis is categorically rejected. Finally, the GCC countries throughout the decades were part and parcel of the international stability and a reliable source of the international energy and a responsible partner in building the international economy, and we will continue to be like this. But we will never be accepted to be targeted and to be under aggression. We will never allow our territories to be part of scenes or crises that being planned by others. We need to deter all aggression against ourselves and our countries, and we need not to understand the false claims always made by Iran. Thank you very much for being here, and if you have any questions, thank you again very much for being here.